everyone, and welcome back to the Wellness and Growth Journeys podcast. I am your host, Mia Lisa Garns, founder of the Wellness Growth Agency, where we help women centered wellness brands grow and connect with the people they're meant to serve. Now, today we're diving into one of my favorite topics: how innovation and empathy can work hand in hand to truly transform women's health. And my guest is Amy Gaston, VP of Strategic Growth at, pronounce it for me, is it
OhmBody.
Body?
OhmBody. Yeah, OhmBody, one
Body.
word.
Oh,
OhmBody.
like yoga, like that, is it?
Yes. Well, for sure. Ohm is actually a part of the frequency, a piece of a frequency wave. And so it's an
Okay.
interesting blend, kind of double entendre there for us.
Oh, I like that. Now, OhmBody is a company using science, technology, and compassion to help women better understand and support their bodies. Now, with a strong background in entrepreneurship and brand growth and a heart for advocacy, Amy's work bridges business, innovation, and well-being in such an inspiring way. So officially welcome. Welcome to Wellness and Growth Journeys
Th-
podcast.
Thank you, Mealy. So that was such a very eloquent introduction to me. I don't know if anyone's ever said it that way. So thank you.
I try my best. Thank you. Now, Amy, before we get into like all the techie stuff and the innovation side of things, right? I love to start really with your story because really that's what Wellness and Growth Journeys is about. Like we like to hear the story, the backstory as to like why you got into doing what you're doing. So, yeah, what really drew you to the world of women's wellness and technology specifically? Like, what personal passion drives the work that you're doing at OhmBody?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. I think when you look at my overall professional journey, it looks a little chaotic. It's a little kind of everywhere. I've been in college athletics, I've been a high school volleyball coach, I've been in lifestyle branding, I've worked for a VC firm. So there's a lot of things that sort of kind of bounce to me here and there. But I think the through line of my story has always been that I care deeply about the next generation of women. I care deeply about um, taking things that were so graciously gifted to me as a young woman and turning around and giving it to the next generation. My husband and I are child free by choice. I don't have a desire to be a mom, but I have a deep, deep desire to empower young women to become whatever it is that they want to be. And part of that is overall health and wellness.
Right.
I think it's not a secret that for a very, very long time and still continues to some degree, women's health and wellness was really underrepresented and underserved and undereducated. You know, we were told for a long time, hey, your body is just a small man's. Hey, your body is too complicated to fully understand. Hey, this is just how it is. And I think in the world that we're living, if I truly want to say I'm an advocate for the next generation, then I want to be a part of solving the gaps that currently exist in that education. And so, so for me, you know, I've been with OhmBody since January and serve as the VP of Strategic Growth, and really wasn't looking for this kind of role. I wasn't looking to get into women's health, and I think that's kind of the through line of a lot of my professional journey. Nothing that I've actually walked into did I step out seeking. They sort of just happened, and I feel really fortunate to have had people around me who found value that I could bring to a space, but then also just for me to have the courage to say like, yeah, let's walk through that door. I think having the kind of support system I've had for a long time is the kind of support system I want to be for young women. And so women's health sort of became an option. I worked for the VC firm that's the lead investor in our Series A, in our company's Series A, and an opportunity arose for them to have specifically a female in this seat. We're the women's wellness division of a parent company with 3 male founders. And while they're incredible, they very much felt like, oh, we should probably put a woman in this seat. And so when that opportunity came, I was sort of right place, right time, right relationships. I think that's really a lot. I think the most successful things I've done in my life have come with that sort of cadence. And so when this opportunity was presented to me, this idea that we could push tech in such a way and merge tech in the lives of women in such a way to truly move the needle. And then not just that, not just have a product, but to have an entire platform where we're educating women young and old. I mean, I'm 40 and still learning things about my body, thanks to this role in this company and this brand that I didn't know. I should have known. I'm a well-educated woman, but still learning every day. But the fact that my role could uniquely do that and to make the kind of impact that we're working to make, was just something I couldn't pass up.
I love that. First of all, this is me probably being a little TMI, but do you get flack for choosing not to have kids? Because
You
I
know,
know society can be so unforgiving when it comes to women choosing not to have kids. Like it's your God-given right to have kids. You must have kids.
yeah,
And
it's our responsibility. Yeah, I live in the South, so I live in Texas, and I grew up in a relatively religious evangelical home where, the purpose of a family was that to have children and to procreate and to, you know, further the kingdom, which, is fine. And where sex was within marriage only and only for procreation. And, I very much grew up in that and had to do a lot of deconstructing of my faith, in that space. But, in the beginning, yeah, I think, the further we get down, my husband and I've been married 15 years now, and I'm 40. So the further we get down this, the easier that seems to go down for people. I think the
right.
most interesting reaction I received when I shared that my husband had gotten a vasectomy, which was like a woo woo, I didn't have to be on birth control anymore. That's like the best thing in the
Oh,
world, right? I
that
was so
sounds
proud.
amazing.
Yeah, and honestly, like it was his idea, not mine. I was like in a space to like I needed to get off Depo-Provera because I'd been on it for about 6 years, and long term exposure to that can lead to bone density loss, and all the things that come with it. So
Yes, some
my OB
hormone
was
issues,
really
right?
that's right. So my OB was very much like, hey, we should probably be thinking about something else for you if you
Yeah.
guys want to stay on contraceptives. So I went to my husband and talked to him about it, and I had a really hard time finding a birth control that worked for me. Depo was the first one that didn't
Okay.
make me crazy, that didn't make me like truly Depo. Everyone's got their mixed whatever, but for me, having a shot every 3 months fit my schedule and fit my lifestyle. And so,
Mhm.
and now that I know more about it, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have been on Depo-Provera, but that's another conversation. But my husband came to me and said, what, do you want kids? I'm like, no, we already discussed this. I don't want kids. And he said, then why don't I just get a vasectomy? And I was like, yeah, he booked his own appointment, drove himself there, drove himself home. Like and so he's the advocate in our friend group that's always like, man up. She birthed 3 babies for you. The least you can do is go snip it and deal with it for 24 hours, right?
Oh,
Like
I
he's that.
love that.
Yeah, he's that guy. And
I
so for
love
me,
that.
yeah, I shared it. I had a group of college friends that has kind of morphed since then, but and maybe this was part of it, but one of my friends, when I said, hey, Josh got a vasectomy, happy vasectomy day, I don't know what I said, and she said, Amy, I'm so devastated for you. That was the text she sent. And I was like,
Devas- Devastated.
why?
Why?
I literally said that. I said, why? And she said, well, that you guys have just made such a final decision. Like you should be a mom. And I was like, this would be different if I was telling you I can't get pregnant. The doctors say that I can't have babies. And we've decided just to like close that chapter. Sure, be devastated. But I'm telling you something that we as a married, grown adult set of people decided together that our life's work would be around each other and the people that came into our lives and the people we choose to put into our lives and our careers. And you just took this moment and made it about you and your perception of what my life should have been. So that was probably the most hurtful. I think it was really hard for my dad. I'm the only daughter, and I think he just had these visions of like grandbabies. He has grandchildren.
Grandchildren.
He has grandchildren. Please hear me. He has grandchildren, a niece or
Okay.
a granddaughter and grandson, and they're amazing. But so it's not like I was, and at that point he had already had them. It's not like I decided first and then my brother had kids. But so that was really hard. But the biggest supporter of it, which I was not expecting, was my mother. My mother's Korean, comes from a very traditional family, has 3 kids, and her response to me was, Amy, if you don't want kids, don't have kids. And it was the most powerful moment for me of like, I'm proud of you for choosing you in this moment and not feeling the pressure of society to have to suddenly have babies. Like, and I'm so thankful. And she went to my dad and said, you need to back off of Amy and you need to be supportive of this decision that they've had.
I love
And so
that.
I get some mixed reviews. I get people who say, well, you aren't you afraid but you'd make such a great mom. I'm like, I know that. I think I'd make a
Well,
good mom.
yeah.
But
Right.
you know what I do? I make an even better aunt. And I just spent the last 2 weekends with my niece. The first one dressed up in anime, which is not my shtick at all, but she is obsessed with anime. So we did, character head to toe, this costume.
Yeah. You could be the rich auntie that comes in and just like showers them with gifts and,
Well,
you
and then
know.
last weekend I flew from Boston to her hometown to watch her in a play because she was the only eighth grader in a high school play. And if I had kids of my own, I wouldn't be able to do that. I mentor young girls. I mentor high school girls, and I would not have that kind of capacity if I had children of my own. And not to say people don't do it, but I'm a very, very, very busy woman. And what small capacity I have, I choose to invest in girls and Baylor girls. I live in Waco, so Baylor University girls. There's a month does not go by that I don't get someone who reaches out on me on LinkedIn and says, "Hey, so and so said I should sit down and talk to you about my career path, or should I think about getting married? Should I not think about?" They're all of 20, and I'm like, "Don't get married at 20," but but no, it's great. But yeah, it's been a mixed bag. I do think what it has done is the young women that I have been fortunate enough to either coach or mentor have come back and said to me, "My husband and I think we're not going to have kids, and you gave me language to be able to do that."
Okay.
And
I
I
love
think that's
that.
really powerful, right? Like,
Yeah.
to be able to tell a generation of women, you are not baby makers alone. If you want
Like
children,
that's
that is
not your
amazing,
only purpose in
but that
life
is not
because
your
it
only
comes
purpose.
across. Yeah, it comes
Yeah,
across as that, right?
it really
And
does.
yeah. And
Yeah.
for
Well, and I have
me,
a go ahead. Yeah.
I was saying that so I have one kid.
Mhm.
Um And so how it goes is you gotta get married, right? I
Yeah.
find here it was like you had to have a kid whether you're married or not, right?
Oh,
That seemed to be like the thing, right? So, but then in the Christian kind of circles, they're like, you have to get married first, and then after you get married, then you have the kid, and you can't just have one.
yeah.
Oh,
2.5
you
or
have to have
2.45.
two,
Yeah. You have to have the
right?
2.5.
And so no, and I did the marriage thing, I did the kid thing, but now I have to do the second kid because you know what's gonna happen when you're dead and gone. He's gonna need somebody here with you, and to be honest, I'm gonna be just like really honest with you.
Mm,
It was kind of getting to me, right? It
yeah.
was kind of like, and I'm feeling like this kind of pressure, like, oh, yeah, you're right. My
Mm,
child's gonna be so lonely when we, and I'm
yeah.
like, is that really, is that
But
really
at
a
the end of the
decision to
day,
get another kid? You know what I
and
mean?
there's no
Based on
guarantee the two
somebody
of them.
else's.
Yeah. Well, and there's no guarantee they'll like each other when you die.
That too. That
I mean,
too. And they
I
wouldn't
had
be
a
fighting
friend.
each other
Yeah.
for like whatever's left back and thing.
Absolutely. I had a friend ask me, like, "Who's going to take care of you when you're old?" I'm like, "Well, I hope my
That
401k."
one.
Yeah, I'm like,
Um,
if I'm having children just to have caretakers, then I have not financially prepared myself well enough. Like,
yes.
it's not a reason to have children. I have a best guy friend and a best girlfriend. My best guy friend has 4 kids, an old, 2 twins, and then a little girl. And my best girlfriend has 5. They're 6 and
Wow.
under. And how she does it,
Wow.
I have no idea. And both of them look at me
Kudos.
and
Kudos to
say,
them.
"Oh yeah," and I love their kids. Like, I am Aunt G. Like, I am a part of their lives, and I'm so thankful I get to be that. But both of them separately have said to me, "Gosh, I really envy your life." Not that they would give their kids up for anything. Their kids are amazing. But they're like, there's something about you living a life where you can choose where you go and when you go and how you go that isn't available to people with children. And that's okay.
And it's a reality and it's a fact, right? You can no longer sleep till 12 o'clock because you gotta get up, especially if you got kids under a certain age and you need to feed them.
Yeah, they have to become alive. Yeah, it's not a, and I always say this, it's not a handbag I can decide I don't want in return.
Exactly.
Motherhood is a
Exactly.
life decision, and it's a life decision I just wasn't willing to make. And my value and my worth and my legacy does not have to be in flesh and blood. It just
Yes.
doesn't. My legacy gets to be these young girls that I have watched now get married and have babies of their own and careers. And I show up to college graduations and, weddings. And, I had one who came about 6 weeks ago. She called me and said, "Hey, coach, do you think I can just stay with you? Come and stay with you for a week. And I just miss you." She's a high power ICU nurse in San Francisco. And she got on a plane to Waco, Texas, and spent 72 hours with me because she just wanted the person in her life who had made such an impact on her. When I coached her at 17, she's now 30. And for her to say, it's valuable to me because something in my heart needs to be with you. That's my legacy. And that's something that I'm very, very, very proud of. I F it up. I'm sorry, I almost cussed. I F it up from time to time, and I don't do it right. And I think for every one of those kids, there's 10 that are like, I hated Coach Rice. I hated playing for her. And that's okay too. But the legacy that I'm leaving behind is not determinate solely on whether I have children or not.
Agreed. Agreed. And I really just wish that the world, let me just say that the world would allow women to decide how they want to use their body. Like, like why does outside people get a chance to comment and judge and try to force you or pressure you to do something with your body? It's crazy. So I mean, I'm hoping that podcasts like these and even the work that you're doing kind of helps women to kind of feel more empowered about the decisions when it comes to their bodies and then stand firm in it as well. Because I think we come from that generation where I guess maybe our women felt like they needed to do the status quo of getting married and being the caretakers of the kids in the house, and while the man goes off to work. And so in our generation now, we're the women who we're working and then we're still expected to take care of the house and the home, you
Yeah.
know and the guy, right? So like, and our generation now is kind of stand up, and the younger generation is like, you know what, I don't want to do this. I This is too much. This is way too much. That's why a lot of us are having less and less children, because it's like, no, I, I just, my one is enough for me. Thank you. Is
Sure.
enough. I already feel like I don't have enough time to kind of give to him already. Imagine if I had like four or five. Oh my gosh, I probably would go crazy. But
Yeah, I don't know how they do it. I'm
again,
gonna be honest.
me either. Again, it's your decision on what you can handle and your capacity and all of that. So thank you for sharing that. I feel like it was maybe a little bit invasive, but
No,
I do
I'm
like to
open to
talk to women who have decided, hey, look, I don't want a kids. And and I'm just like, they're like, yeah, the cheerleader behind you. I got you. I got you 100%. I don't think I ever kind of wondered, like, oh my gosh, why doesn't she want to have any kids? I don't think I ever wondered that, but I knew I always wanted to experience motherhood for myself. I know that I have. I know that, that's the one is fine for me. Like, I think I told my husband when my kid popped up, I was like, I can't do this again.
and we're done.
This
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And check.
this is
That's all.
traumatic. This is
Yeah.
traumatic. This whole thing was traumatic in itself.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I tell this story a lot about the only thing I remember from my human anatomy and physiology class as a senior that had to do with the woman's body was a birthing video. And I watched a baby crown out of a woman. And I swear to God, that planted something in my head that was like, yeah, I'm not sure I'm ever going to want that to happen. Like I was just like, this is not it, which again speaks to so many things around why I don't know more things about the female anatomy from that class. But that is truly a traumatic moment for me. And I was like, I don't need to experience that to know that that would not be something I would be okay with.
Listen, the last doctor's appointment I went to before I gave birth, right? And they're like, oh yes, nice 9 centimeters. I said 9 centimeters. His head is 9 centimeters.
That's a lot. That's so
Am
much.
I not supposed to be stretching to 9 centimeters? Like, and his head is 9 centimeters? No, no, no,
Yeah, I've changed my mind.
no.
Thank you. He can just stay in there.
I know, right? Can I get a C-section? Can I go back on that like natural birth thing? And while you're in there, can I get a tummy tuck?
Yeah, can we just like take it all while I'm cut up? Let's go. Yeah, it's just wild to me. And again, women who do that are phenomenal, right? Like, I think you giving birth natural, I think there's something so beautiful about that and so incredible. And I think speaks to the uniqueness of the female anatomy in a way that like, is just incredible. It's so uniquely designed and so intricately right, when it works correctly. And even women with C-sections, my friend who has the 5 kids, she's had
Yes.
12 C-sections, because her husband is 6'8", and those babies are giants. And she was like, I'm not pushing that out of me. So she had scheduled C-sections for all 4 births. Her last 2 were twins. And she's incredible and phenomenal. She has major surgery. A week later goes home and is raising babies like little humans while she's had something, her whole inside just cut open. Like, I think there's something really beautiful and powerful about that. But I think that while that's a uniquely female experience, it doesn't have to be every woman's experience. And I think that's the part that I wish we could be okay with and say that me not having babies doesn't make me any less of a woman, and doesn't make me have experienced any less of being fully female. I think it's like,
Agreed. I mean, perfectly said. Perfectly said. The other thing too is that there are things that we have to go through regardless. You know what I mean? Whether you have a baby or not. And then I heard somebody say whether you had a uterus or not, you still go through menopause. And I'm like, wait, what? You mean if I take out my whole uterus, I still have to go through menopause? I'm like, what is the point of this?
yeah, because your hormones are still happening. And so like if you so menopause is the stoppage of eggs being
Yes.
expelled. But that means when those eggs are being expelled, that's when you get estrogen. So when you don't have
Right.
that, whether it's surgical because they've removed it or you've naturally declined that, your body, menopause is just the end of that. So I was listening to a podcast. I'm in the middle of it because it's so long, but it's so good. Diaries of a CEO. They did an entire
Oh.
episode on just, they have 4 women on there, experts, Stacey Sims, and I'm forgetting all the other doctors, but female women's health experts. And they're talking about that menopause. Medically, menopause is 1 day, which is silly because it's just the end and it marks the end. And it's a really, and they were talking about how it's an antiquated kind of definition of it when it's sort of this like absence of, right? So yeah, if
Right.
you don't have a uterus, you do technically experience menopause because it's an ending, a medical menopause.
Right. Right. So what I'm saying then is that, we still have to go through certain things as women that kind of unites us in this weird way because I mean, like none of it's good. Like everything, all of it is horrible. Like
Purposeful. Yeah, it's purposeful. It can be easier, but it's certainly not pleasant. Nobody wants to be actively bleeding. At all. We always say this, like, menstruation is such an important thing for us to better understand, better fund, and better innovate around, because to your point, every female has the potential to menstruate, and most do for at least a portion of their lives. And most of us don't do it well. Because our
yes.
bodies, for, you can call it environmental, genetic, whatever it is, we
Hmm.
don't menstruate well, and so, or easily, and so for us at OhmBody, that's why the work that we're doing is so vitally important, and the innovations we're bringing to the table feel really fundamental to a female experience. And the continued education and the destigmatization around menstrual conversations, is so important to us for that very reason.
So how do you make sure exactly that technology truly listens to women's needs instead of just like trying to fix them?
Yeah, I think it's about innovators who are willing to listen and willing to understand the core problem and understanding the science of why do women feel the way they do. What is it that's causing excessive bleeding? Because a lot of the treatment right now is, it simply just masks the pain, or mask specifically painkillers, right? You're not actually addressing the pain that is. And so for us at OhmBody, one, we're a science first company. So we want to really understand what's happening. We have some incredibly brilliant people who work for us, and we have incredibly brilliant medical advisors who are helping to inform on the space. The other thing for us is, our users, while we are currently really focused on heavy menstrual bleeding reduction, and pain management, period pain management, our users continue to bring us things where they find that while using OhmBody, they experience less endometriosis flare up. Right. So while they're
Right.
going through that, our device helps relieve their IBS. Those are things that we have technically set out, but you better believe that's now on our list to understand why is it that our tech is having that sort of effect. And if we continue
Mm.
down that pathway, what could we then continue to help resolve and to solve for? So I think it's just a balancing. And I think just what I love about our scientists in our company is they're so humble. They never come to the table thinking they know it all. They just really don't. And I'm so grateful for that, because what I think that allows is space for innovation. If you walk to the table thinking you know how something's going to be solved, it really narrows down the possibility of what can be. And what I have found with our clinical team and our engineers is like that's not how they approach their work. They very much approach it
Mm.
with an open hand of like, we think it might be this, but let's let the science and let's let the tech tell us what it can actually do. And I think there's something really powerful about that.
Definitely. And we're seeing so much growth in women's health tech specifically,
Yes.
right?
Femtech, yes.
But it could feel kind of intimidating or overly medical at times, right? So, how do you help women use technology as a partner in their wellness rather than a replacement for like intuition?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. And I think I'm not sure we've gotten it entirely right, but I think it's things like this where we sit down with hosts of podcasts who will make space for us to have open conversation. We do things like Ask Me Anythings on Reddit and PMDD subreddit groups where women just they have a lot of questions, and they have a lot of those women in those spaces have spent years looking for solutions with no answer. And so I think you enter those sorts of conversations with a lot of empathy to say, we hear you and your anger, we get. And then there's space for that. And there's humility on our end to understand that like we recognize we're a new tech that to your point can feel really intimidating, can feel almost fake, to be quite honest, right? You're like, I'm going to wear an earpiece and you're going to help me bleed less. How does that work? And so it's about us. I mean, truly, I mean, and that's a fair sentiment. I mean, totally
Yes.
fair sentiment.
Yes.
And so for us to be able to, with a lot of grace and a lot of patience, be able to explain the science in a way that isn't high up in the clouds. Like I could do the science in a way that only a neuroscientist would understand. But
Right.
that doesn't get us anywhere with the average woman who is suffering from heavy menstrual bleeding. So what my job is to sit down and take that very complicated science and break it down into something really simple, not because women aren't smart enough to understand, but why create a burden of having to learn that when I can simply just bring it down to a language that's just everyday conversation. And so that's what we do
Okay.
is we really try to meet women where they are. So that's why we do podcasts and webinars, and we have a really strong social presence. We have a great website. Our customer service team is always available, and if they have a question that needs a little additional, we jump in and help out. But it's really about saying, hey, we get that it can be a lot, but here
Yeah.
we want to walk alongside you in your journey. And really our therapy is not meant to be an entire replacement of what you're already doing. So we know that women are on
Right.
birth control for all different reasons, not just heavy menstrual bleeding and painful periods, but truly all sorts of medical conditions. And so we're not here to say we are the replacement for birth control. We're here to say, let us help you manage the symptoms that your body is experiencing, regardless of how you're handling contraception or whatever it might be. Because even women with IUDs still can often experience period pain, right? Even if they're not
Yeah.
bleeding, they can experience that during post ovulation. And so our device can be sort of a companion to the therapy that you're already using.
Okay. Now, no. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to break it down for me because I love that your work explores the connection between the nervous system, balance, and overall well being. But can you explain how non-invasive technologies can actually support women in managing stress, mood, or even their cycle in the simplest way?
Yeah, absolutely. So we specifically utilize the nerves, the trigeminal nerve and your vagus nerve. So your trigeminal nerve is associated with pain management. So it's kind of how your body manages pain, feels pain, experiences pain. Your vagus
Right.
nerve is the other cranial nerve that we target. And the cranial nerve, or the vagus nerve, as you know, is the only nerve that leaves the brain and touches every major organ, sends signals down, and then sends signals back up to the brain. She's really popular. People utilize her to manage stress, manage gastric upset, manage stroke, there's a lot of things that the vagus nerve does because she touches so many things. But we specifically, by targeting the branches around the ear, so we call it auricular branches, so just the ear, we're going to do two different things. So from the side of blood reduction, menstrual blood reduction, what we do is we send signals from the vagus nerve down to your spleen. Your spleen holds anywhere between 20 and 25% of your body's platelets. Platelets are designed, their only purpose is to help you clot. So when you cut your finger and you don't bleed out, it's because platelets came to a point, formed a clot, and kept blood inside of you, right? So that's the platelet. Your platelets live about 7 to 10 days. They're constantly in production and cycling through your body. They clot both internally and externally. So if I clap my hands like this, I've now sent platelets to my hands internally, right? Because I've caused an injury. So that's platelets. They're in your spleen. What we do is when we signal the spleen down the vagus nerve, we actually are able to prime the platelets in such a way that when they show up to a point of injury, so in this case, the shedding of your uterine wall, they're going to clot faster, stronger, and hold longer. Now,
Nice.
we're not actually activating platelets. So activating means we're telling the platelet to clot. So we would be saying, hey, go clot. But we're not doing that. All we're doing is priming them in such a way that says, hey, when the body needs you, you're going to be really, really good at your job. And so what that looked
Okay.
like for us is in our clinical studies, an average of a 55% reduction during blood loss in heavy menstrual bleeders. So these are
Nice.
women who are bleeding exorbitant amounts of blood. Half of our cohort were women with a disease called von Willebrand disease, and it's a bleeding disorder very common in women that can manifest during menstruation as up to a liter of blood loss every menstrual cycle, which is
Wow.
significant because that's about a quarter of blood found in a woman's body. And so these women, for some of them, saw up to a 75% reduction in blood loss. So the
It's
further they
amazing.
were from the baseline, the more we were able to help them. In addition, we saw a 20% reduction in the number of days those women were on their cycle and they were bleeding. So that's the first side of what we do. So we're just using the vagus nerve to reach your spleen to talk to your platelets. Very, very simple. There's a lot of
Okay.
weird science that happens in there and big words, but that's the base of it. So that's the first side. The second side that we do is by stimulating the trigeminal nerve and the vagus nerve together in our
Mm-hmm.
frequency blend, we're actually able to balance the autonomic nervous system. So your nervous system has two sides. You have the sympathetic tone, which are your fight or flight, and you have the parasympathetic tone, which are your rest and relax. And your body is constantly working to balance, right? So when you feel really good, you're usually in some sort of balance. The sympathetic tone has value when you're in danger, when you're sick. Your body needs to go into overdrive in order to keep you alive. That's your survival mechanism, and it's important and very valuable. And just as much as your parasympathetic tone, your rest and relax, it's how you sleep. So when your parasympathetic tone is right and elevated, then you sleep better, you have less anxiety.
Oh,
So it's this
yeah.
balance, right? And so our body is constant, even right now, your autonomic nervous system is balancing, and different factors,
Mm.
external and internal, are going to drive those. So during menstruation, for many women, especially those with heavy menstrual bleeding, your body is actually experiencing a trauma. So your sympathetic tone is in overdrive. You're in fight or flight. We say this a lot with women, especially who are heavy menstrual bleeders. If you were to bleed that much from any other part of your body, you'd be in the hospital receiving treatment. But because it's menstrual blood, that's not how our society manages that, right? But your body
Right.
is still experiencing trauma. It's still sending resources to say, we are bleeding. And oh, by the way, we're bleeding too much, right? And so it's sending these resources. So you're in this fight or flight state, your sympathetic tone raised. What we're able to do through our stimulation is actually to raise your parasympathetic tone in that state to help raise the rest and relax. And what we end up doing is helping the body to experience menstruation in a more calm state. We're not keeping you from
Mm.
menstruating or ovulating or doing any of the things that your body needs to do. We're just giving the body the tools to be able to balance itself so that it can manage everything that's happening in your body and uterus in a more stress-free state. And so what we saw clinically was a 40+% reduction in cramping, a 40+% reduction in gastric upset, a 30+% 25% improvement in mood stabilities, plus decreases in anxiety, sleeplessness, and cravings. And then across the board for our users, what we saw was an overall increase in quality of life score, because that's really the whole point, right? We want women to be
Yes.
able to live better and live better more days, especially through
Yes.
menstruation. Our tagline at OhmBody is because life doesn't stop when you start, because we truly believe that. For so long, women have been told once a month, your life is going to be really shitty and you're going to feel like crap. And oh, by the way, some of you won't be able to go to work. You won't be able to function. You won't be able to remember
Yes.
the word for cup, right? Like you're going to feel crappy. And you know what?
Yeah.
That's just how it's going to be. If it's really bad, then let us pump some hormones in you. Or if it's really, really bad, we'll take your uterus out, right? So those are currently the options that are given to from girls age 13 when they start to 55 when they're done. Those are the options. And every one of those women is in a different state of life and likely needs a different type of therapy or option, but we have so few. And so OhmBody is the first of its kind, non-hormonal, non-invasive, no drugs, to be able to manage some of these things that have to this point only been pharmaceutically or surgically managed.
Thank you for that. That was a lot. That was a lot. But I think I kind of get it. I think I kind of get it.
Questions? Yeah.
I think I kind of get it.
At the end of the day, Mia Lisa, I would say is we're here, own body exists, and its technology simply allows the body to do what it already naturally is capable of doing. We're not changing anything about how your body operates. All we're doing is allowing it to do what it's really already designed to do.
Yeah. Now, how can we help women move from, I guess, symptom management to partnership with their bodies, right? What does that shift look like? And where can women start if they feel like disconnected or discouraged?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think it starts with education, to be quite frank. I think a lot of women feel trapped in where they are and they feel disconnected because they don't know there are other options. They don't know what else is out there. And to your point, a lot of that education can feel really intimidating. It can feel like, oh, well, I'm not a scientist, so I can't know. I'm not an OB-GYN or a doctor, so I can't know. When in actuality, there's quite a bit about our bodies that if we simply understood, oh, hey, my nervous system has two sides to it. And when I'm in stress, specifically menstruation, there's an imbalance. And so we want to work to rebalance, right? And I think more and more of that's coming along. I think for a long time it felt very like hooky, bath salt kind of y. But I think more as that becomes more mainstream of this idea of like, no, there's a true rhythm to our bodies and there's a true balance that needs to happen in order to specifically for longevity, right? There's a statistic that I think has really sat in my brain. We're doing some work on the other side of our company with first responders and helping to manage their stress. There's a statistic for first responders specifically that once they retire, they only live 5 to 7 years. That's it.
Oh,
Because once they leave their because they've been living in hyper fight or flight, high stress jobs the entirety of their career. And then when they leave, their body essentially shuts down. So whether some of
oh,
that's suicide, and that's terrible and an imbalance in brain chemical for a lot of people and their emotions. But the other side of that is they'll die of a heart attack, cancer, liver failure. Their body is literally shutting down because it's lived in a hyper fight or flight stance. And so that to me, and that's again we could do a whole other podcast on that, but that to me is just a signal that like there is tremendous value to living in a peaceful state within ourselves, because that is going to lead to healthier lives. And I think when we can understand that, then a device like OhmBody makes sense as a tool, right? But I do think it's about continuing education. I think if a woman finds herself and is like, I don't know what to do and my doctor's not listening, there there are other doctors. The beauty right now, and I recognize that like women live in healthcare deserts. There's one OB for 5 counties. Like I get that. But with the evolution of telehealth and, telehealth platforms specifically to women there are some great ones on there. Vasana Health, MIDI Health, March Health, even platforms like Fox Health, which is not necessarily a telehealth platform, but a resource community to be able to go out and find sources and talk to other women, being like, oh, hey, I also experienced that. And here's what my doctor said. That's the place that we're going to start seeing some difference for women.
right, right. I was having a conversation the other day with an OBGYN. She was telling me, in the States, she was telling me that there aren't enough OBGYNs.
There aren't. There's a shortage, massive shortage.
She's like, we need more.
Hmm.
So, I mean, geez, what's a woman got to do?
Yeah, it's
you
wild.
know, we
Yeah,
gotta, seek other alternatives, which is crazy. In my mind, like that should be like the area where we make sure we got enough of. I mean,
yeah,
especially if you want us to like reproduce to
yeah,
keep the human civilization going on, right?
yeah.
Right? You
Absolutely.
should
Yeah,
invest in that.
yeah. And I think more and more of it's coming. It's coming. It's just slow, but it does require a tremendous effort, a tremendous effort. So.
Yeah. So, looking ahead, Amy, what excites you most about the future of women's health innovation? Whether it be technology, education, or community.
Um, I think for me, it's about looking at my 13-year-old niece and knowing that she's going to grow up in a world where women's health is not niche and women's health is not an afterthought. Women's health is just healthcare, and it's specific to her and specific to her experience. And she's going to understand her body and have the advocacy and have the technology and the resources to experience the female experience better than I did. That's what I'm most excited about.
Now, you've built teams, led companies, and now champion women's health on a bigger stage. Now, how do you personally stay balanced and well in the middle of all of that?
Yeah, that's it's a challenge for sure. And some seasons are easier than others. But I think for me, about 3 years ago, I went through a process where I did a lot of soul searching. I took about a 7 month sabbatical, and created some boundaries and some non
Love
negotiables for
that.
myself. And one of those was my time for myself is untouchable, whatever that looks like. And if I've got a tennis lesson on my calendar, unless the world is falling apart, that tennis lesson doesn't come off
You
for
go
me.
into that tennis
I'm going
lesson.
to
I
tennis
get
lesson.
you.
I'm creating space. Yeah. And I'm creating space for my health. I'm creating space for my sanity. I'm going to meet my girlfriends for dinner. Last night I had dinner with a friend in town, and just being able to say like, no, yeah, I know this is an hour and a half that I should probably be. I have about 1,000 emails that I could get to because my inbox never seems to be at zero, but
No,
this
it
is
doesn't
valuable.
happen.
Yep. This is valuable, and it's valuable to my heart. And nothing, no job or position or role is enough for me to ever give that up again.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Amy, for joining me today. This conversation has been such a powerful reminder that wellness isn't just about what's happening in our bodies, but how we could connect with them. And I feel like maybe it might seem a little bit daunting when you first hear about it. And because of that, it may seem kind of scary to even like look into or, get to know more
Yeah,
about it. But I am hoping that, this conversation at least inspired the listeners to see technology as a tool for empowerment and not anxiety, and something that could help you tune in with your body and not away from it,
that's right.
right? Yes. And you can learn more about Body and Amy's work by visiting their website. I think it's ohmbody.com, which is very
Right.
easy to remember. They're also on Instagram and Facebook. And I think Pinterest as well, but I'm not sure. Yes,
Yes.
Pinterest as well.
Pinterest and
If you want to
TikTok. Yeah.
and TikTok and TikTok. See,
We're
so
over
they're
there.
all over, so you could find out more information about them and their work. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe. Leave a comment, guys. We want to hear from you, and share, obviously, this video with other women who are ready to take charge of their health and growth. Until next time, thank you again, Amy. I am Yelisa Garnes, and this is Wellness Growth Agency. Sorry. And this is Wellness Growth and Journeys podcast. I'm like, wait, why am I saying Wellness Growth Agency? Because that's the name of the agency.
I
Until
love
next
it.
time, guys. Thank you for joining us on another Wellness and Growth Journeys podcast. Now, if you're inspired to elevate your health and wellness business, the Wellness Growth Agency is here to guide you. We specialize in tailored digital marketing strategies to enhance your client engagement, grow your practice, and improve overall satisfaction. Let's unlock the potential of your business together. Visit us at wellnessgrowthagency.com to learn more, and don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more insightful episodes. Until next time, keep thriving, and remember, wellness is a journey. Growth is the destination.